All right, guys. I'm Justin.
And I'm Jay.
And this is Cryptids the Corn. This week's episode is the Loveland Frogman. The man, the myth, or iguana. We'll talk about that. So we're going to get into some front of house stuff first and take care of that. So I'm going to CryptidCon this weekend. I don't know if you guys know what that is. It's the largest cryptid folklore gathering. I know on this side of the Mississippi, it might be in the country. I've seen they have people coming from England, Germany, and a couple other small European countries. Jay, I think, is going to try to go. I think we're going to try to go as a podcast next year.
That'd be sweet.
I think that's what my goal is.
If we keep growing.
Yeah. And thank you guys for listening and stuff. We are heavily surprised at the amount of listens we've already had and stuff like that. So we want to thank you guys. And as a part of that thank you, when I go down to CryptidCon, I don't know what it is yet, but I'm going to buy something to give away through the Facebook and stuff for you guys. I don't know the rules yet. We'll figure it out. It'll be like a like, share, comment kind of thing. I'm going to try to get something nice. Maybe just some kind of ideas, like a Bigfoot foot cast or something like that. I think it would be really cool. When I know what it is, I'll add that to the post this is on later. Whether... I'm not sure what it's going to be, because there's a lot of cool stuff. Me and Emily have already been looking at vendors and stuff like that. There's going to be some cool stuff.
Foot casting would be pretty sweet.
Yeah, or some artwork. There's a lot of really cool artwork down there.
Oh, interesting.
If I can get something Frogman related, I'll do that. And I was really surprised about the Frogman's popularity in this. We did an online poll for this episode. We kind of had all kinds of topics we wanted to cover on that poll. We're going to get to all of them eventually. So it's not like if we didn't get yours, because a couple of them are right there at the top, but the Frogman was always just a couple votes ahead.
I voted for the Frogman.
Yeah, I had to, and we'll get into why. So there's what's special about the Frogman to us. I don't know if any of you guys know what the Frogman is, because it's really a small, local Ohio legend cryptid. It's from Loveland, Ohio, which is right on the Little Miami River. My wife. So why it's special to me is my wife. That's like her hometown monster. She grew up, 2 miles from Loveland. There is not one sign about the Frogman. There is not one mention in the city. There's nothing.
That is kind of strange.
I've been all over this country and did all the cryptid stuff, Mm-hmm. I mean, it's nothing like, Point Pleasant and Mothman. Like, their whole town is...
based off that.
And Folk, Arkansas is like that, too.
Yeah,
but
touristy.
Yeah. But if you're in a cryptid area, you can find something cryptid related.
You would think.
That's the one, and I really think it's because, and we'll get into the stories and stuff, their sightings, they're not that numerous, and they're very far in between.
Mm.
So everybody at home, a flap is a group of sightings in a short period of time. They call those flaps.
Okay.
So the flaps were not that big, and they're very far apart.
Mm.
So I think there's not enough there to build a local homestead for this thing.
Right, yeah.
So there's...
not reliable enough.
Right. It's not like when we talk about the beast of Muddy Creek or Boggy Creek or, the Mothman or stuff like that. Those guys, whether they were just a short time, like the whole Folk, Arkansas, Boggy Creek thing, I think took 8 days or 9 days, and the whole town still is covered in Sasquatch.
Right, yeah.
Or skunk ape.
Left an impact there.
Yeah. So that's why it was special. My wife wanted me to put it on the poll. I did not care for the Frogman. I've always kind of thought of it as one of these joke cryptids. And we'll get into our opinions later, but that may or may not have changed. But I don't promise you nothing. So how we going to do this type of episode is I've done the research for the story, because I already knew a chunk of it, and after doing research, I realized I didn't know a lot of it. And I'm going to present it to Jay, and then we'll talk about our feelings about it at the end.
And I have heard of the Frogman, but never. I don't know the story though. I don't know really too much all about it. I just know I've heard that he exists or heard of the Ohio Frogman before.
It's a thing.
Yes, I've heard that it's a thing, but that's about the extent of my knowledge on that subject.
Yeah. So there was. Oh, and then we're going to talk about. There is a couple variations in the story. So I went with one certain storyline. Depending on who you talk to, depending on which internet source you get it from, there's a lot of swinging around. So I went with one storyline that actually had some names associated with people of sightings. That way it's actually trackable. You can see the X said this.
Yeah.
Instead of, a businessman or...
Anonymous sources say.
Or a traveler.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many cryptid stories say a driver, a truck driver or something.
Yeah.
Which I get, a lot of people don't want their name associated with this kind of stuff, even if you come forward. Especially, we're going to talk about the 50s and the 70s. It was a very different time.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't, you didn't come out and talk about stuff. I mean, you weren't even allowed to be, gay or anything, so you sure as heck didn't see a frogman.
Yeah. Oh, man.
And then, so, a side note, if you guys have personal stories that we could talk about on air, or you'd like us to talk about, or even if you want our opinions, I know they don't matter much, but I like hearing other people's stories. You guys heard my stories last week, some of them. So I'd like that. So I'm going to, in the show notes and on the Facebook, I'll put our email, links to the Facebook and all that. You can reach out to us. You can send us a private email. If you don't want us to use your name or nothing, you don't have, we definitely don't have to do anything like that. But it's more just to hear from you guys. We're also having some research areas where we'll talk about that at the end. But if you have any sightings, recent or old, in those areas, we definitely want to hear about you, because we're getting ready for a big one in Michigan, April-ish. And we're going to do a couple more small ones in Salt Fork for the winter season. I don't know if we'll get out in December, just because it's getting to be a tight schedule.
Right, and the holidays and all that stuff.
But definitely in January, February, and March, we'll get out into Salt Fork and up in Michigan, and then April, I think we are going to have a big stay in Michigan.
Which is exciting, will be fun.
Yeah, oh yeah. All right, so now we're getting into the meat and potatoes. The meat and potatoes.
Here we go.
The description. So this is kind of a compilation of all these stories, kind of description.
Gotcha.
The Frogman has a really toad or frog-like head. Deep wrinkles. Sometimes it's slimy, sometimes it's not. That's why I went from frog and toad. That's really the big difference between a frog and a toad. Deep set eyes, small sharp teeth, that big wide slit of a mouth, like toads and frogs have. Leathery, wrinkly skin, webbed hands and feet, around 4 foot tall. A lot of times it's seen crouched, or I haven't heard this storyline doesn't talk about it jumping very far or anything like that.
Yeah.
So it's more, they say frogman because it's really the head shape.
Just looks like a frog.
Yeah. Everything else in the story sounds more reptilian.
Mm-hmm.
But the head is very wide and flat, and those deep set eyes, heavy wrinkles, leathery, no sign of scales. So that's what the frog part came from. So we're going to get right into it. 1955 sightings. There are 4 of them in total. We're going to talk about the main one. The first Frogman sighting. I'm going to try not to say as much. An unnamed businessman sees 3 creatures around 3 a.m. Here we go with the unnamed businessman.
Yeah, right. What year is this one?
1955.
Okay,
This is the first. This is, in most stories, this is accounted as the first sighting of the Frogman.
Gotcha, okay. Here we go.
So he sees 3 of these creatures. He's driving on Riverside Road, right against the Little Miami River. All these sightings take place on Riverside Road. I don't know if you guys have ever been down to Loveland. It's literally, the Little Miami is right there.
Yeah.
The whole time. He observes these creatures for over 3 minutes. The man notices how they have really frog-like heads. That's what he was focused on. When he was about to leave, so this is where the story kind of gets a little weird.
Yeah.
When he was about to leave, so he's observing these creatures for like 3 or 4 minutes. They're just kind of doing their own thing. He wasn't really sure, animals, or something else. They look at him. They pull out what appears to be a wand. And the wand starts to shoot out sparks. And the guy just books it. And he went and he reported it to the police. That's how we got this story. He was not named, but the accounts talk about he was a traveling salesman, but he came to the area all the time. He was well known.
Yeah.
He wasn't known for drinking or anything like that. They did hold him, and kind of like a drunk tank kind of thing. And he still had the same story in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where this comes from. He never went back. He's changed his sales route. So back in the 50s, these guys would have routes. They'd do like monthly or over 2 months. Sell random stuff door to door, and that's what he was.
Seen one of them guys before.
Yeah, it's not nearly as popular. It used to be. That was your Amazon.
Yeah, that little salesman that had that bucket full of random stuff.
And you wanted to be a well-trusted, a well-trusted guy in the community, because that's how you got better sales. Is like, oh, Jim's through town. Jim always has good stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not a question of.
He's got like toilet bowl cleaner.
Right, because then when he comes, he wants that good. Because that when he comes around again, he doesn't have to sell as hard.
Right, yeah.
Because everybody knows, okay, it's at least a decent guy.
Build some trust with his clientele.
Yeah. All right. So, what do you think about that story, part of this so far? We'll get our whole overall thoughts, because it starts building up.
Okay.
Stuff.
Well, I mean, with the magic wand and stuff like that, I believe magic does exist.
Magic or technology?
So, I guess it depends on what you feel about it. Like, I think magic exists. I also think advanced technology exists, or existed. But I think there's also somewhere in between. There's could be a blend of both. And shoot, if they're holding wands and they're using them, that means there's got to be some intelligence to them. Can't just be like a little hybrid frog creature that's just has like a frog brain and stuff like that. It can't think more than trying to catch flies or something like that. Something else is going on there, but there's 3 of them. They're working together. I don't know. Could be. I feel like I wish I was there to see it.
Yeah. So don't go too much into it, because we'll save our overall feelings for the end.
Okay.
But I agree with how he reacted, because that's what I've done. If I seen strange, they're not very big.
Yeah.
He 40, 50 pounds.
Yeah.
They stood all the way upright, and these guys were kind of hobbled over doing something. So, not very big animals. I mean...
Right.
I'd be very curious, and he watched them for a minute, and then all of a sudden, there's basically, like, a magic wand or some kind of gun.
Some Harry Potter stuff starts happening.
Now you get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
You take off. It went from being a cool animal sighting to... Oh, yeah. I'm on the other end of this.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I would have reacted if this little frogman stared right at me and pulled out a magic wand.
Right, yeah. Shoot, I guess, yeah. I wish I would stick around to find out, but I wouldn't want to be in its path.
No, I don't want to be there.
Find out what it's doing.
All right, guys. So before we go into the big chunk of this, me and Jay are going to take a little break. Hello, we're back. All right, we took a short break, got something to drink.
Had to wet the whistle.
Yep, talked about conspiracies. We'll get into that later.
Behind the scenes
stuff. All right. So 1972, 17 years after the original sightings. There's two main stories of this. They both are police officers. They're separate police officers, but they both involve police officers.
Okay.
The first one is... So what... I guess I didn't look it up. What was happening in 1972? Do you know any idea? What was happening in the 70s?
There was a big cultural movement.
Did Vietnam end in 71?
Oh... The
We'll show you how dumb we are.
Yeah.
I know Grandpa Ray was there 68 to 70, I think.
My grandpa was also in the Vietnam War. Good question. You know,
we're gonna look it up real quick.
Let's see what the old trusty Google says.
See, there you guys, you can see we're real people.
Yeah.
I did a chunk of research, but you know what? I just seen the date on my paper and like, it's Vietnam.
Yeah, let's put ourselves in the mind frame. Okay, here we go. Vietnam War ended in 1975. So yeah,
I was close.
It was wrapping up.
So we were in Vietnam War. Well, not yeah. We weren't. It was right about smack dab in the middle.
Yeah, it started in Vietnam War is 55 to 75.
That was a long war. So yeah, we were in the Vietnam War. So yeah, so this is Loveland, Ohio again. This is an unnamed police officer, I'm sorry. March 3rd. So this is cold. 1 a.m. So March 3rd in Ohio. That is some sucky weather.
Yeah, it is.
And this is getting into the territory. This part of the story I didn't know when it was originally presented to me, the dates, because they matter. He was driving along Riverside Road by himself. He was heading towards Loveland. He was driving very slow due to the roads being icy. You're right next to the river. You know, you get a lot of ice buildup. He spotted what he thought was a dog on the side of the road. Once again, he's going real slow. He's not, not flying. The animal darts in front of him. He slams on his brakes. When he sees in his headlights is just about, 3-4 foot tall, big wide head just staring at him. He said it looked panicked. It looked, I may be reading too much in the description, but the way he described it almost seemed like it looked intelligent. It looked like it was scared, and he's looking right at it, and it's there for like 4 or 5 seconds, just then, all struck from the lights. Then it doesn't jump. It kind of scrambles away and grabs the guardrail, hops over, and he watches it scramble down to the river. He said it was on his hind legs for most of that until it got to the guardrail. The creature, so over the embankment, he went into town, told the other officers, which I'm amazed. How do you go to the other cop buddies and be like, hey, I just seen a goblin.
Yeah.
Will you guys, I'm too scared to go back out. Will you guys go check? And they went out, and the only thing they found, they did a full little investigation. Once again, it's at this point probably 2 a.m.
Yeah.
In March on an ice-covered road. How much are they really
looking?
Yeah. So they do find scratches on the guardrail where he said it went over. That was the only proof. No tracks, nothing like that. They did find scratches on the guardrail. So, a week later, this is part. Later that week, it's hard to tell because everybody's a little different. Was it the next day? Was it, let's say this happened on Monday? I don't know. I can look it up March 3rd. But was it the end of the week? It just says later that week, so we're going with that. A name named Mark Matthews was a police officer. This is the name to the story.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not realize how much controversy will come of this man.
Okay.
There was a lot more to this story than I ever gleaned. So later that week, he seen what he thought was a frozen, dead animal on the side of the road. Decently sized, 40, 50 pounds. So he was, he was going to go remove it off the road because it was being a road hazard. And then, when he went over to the creature, he had a partner there. Partner's unnamed. He went over, and it leapt at him, and he proceeded to shoot it dead. This man unloaded on this thing. I've read a report of just one shot, and a couple of reports say he shot it 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
Whatever happened, it was dead. He said it fits the original officer's monster to a T, except this monster had a long tail.
Okay.
So, and that's what kind of gets different when we talk about, maybe possible hoaxes and stuff, is that some stories said they had no tail. This specific one, this report says that when Matthew's seen it, it had a long tail. But it had the big flat head, the tiny teeth, the dry, wrinkly skin. He then later, so this is where the controversy comes in. This is 30 years later. He recants his story a little bit. And he says it was just a lizard. He said he didn't say this, but he said it was clearly a big lizard. It escaped his owner. It had been missing that whole week. Some people believe... So here's where the controversy comes up. There's 2 ways of thinking what actually happened. They talk about, did he make up the original story to kind of make the other officer not seem like an idiot?
Yeah.
So he just, they found this iguana, or this big lizard. They shot it dead, be like, look, his monster, because this is the 70s, reptiles aren't that popular as pets yet.
Okay.
So you're not finding a lot of iguanas in Ohio.
Yeah.
So it would be fair to say if nobody in Loveland had ever seen an iguana, a large iguana. So did he shoot this thing and be like, so our officers aren't idiots. They actually seen a little monster. Or did he recant it? Because at this point, he didn't want anything to do with the story later on. He didn't like the story. So did he finally say he was just a big lizard to just kill the story and remove himself from it?
Right.
So that's kind of the controversy, that part, with his recanting 30 years later. So yeah, that's the major storyline. There's not a lot. It was seen again in 2016 by some people playing Pokemon Go.
Oh.
Yeah, they just said they seen this creature walk down to the river.
Was it a Frogman or was it like a Poliwhirl or
It's
something?
probably a Poliwhirl.
Yeah.
Kids.
Yep.
So, we're going to talk about... So that's the story. We're going to talk about some little extras before we get into our thoughts. But, so habitat. The Little Miami River. When we think about it now, especially the Loveland area, we think about how populated it is. It's a very, high populated area. In the 50s, it was not. It was a tiny little town, farm community.
Okay, so it was a small little town back then.
In the 70s, it was a little bigger, but nothing like today. So these are important things to think about when we talk about maybe it being some kind of animal or undiscovered thing.
Yeah.
Little Miami River is decently sized at that point. It connects to the Ohio river watershed. And there are Kentucky frogmen.
Interesting. Okay.
There are a couple stories of these kind of...
Been sightings down there.
Yeah. So if you're talking about maybe an actual possible flesh and blood cryptid...
Right.
This, it's not impossible for them to get up, and let's say their range is the Ohio River watershed.
Yeah.
So they're in the Ohio River watershed. You're just talking about something incredibly rare. They may have happened to wander into a populated area, and that's why it keeps getting seen. Is because that might be the biggest population of people on the that time at the Little Miami. Possible hoaxes. So there's been a lot of them. Like everybody, here's a 2016 story. 100% it's a hoax.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks that. The original, some people say that he got scared of the normal animal, and he just blew up this big story. Some people say he was drinking. That doesn't fit a lot of the character descriptions we have of him. Once again, he's not named, so we don't know who this guy is.
Right. Yeah.
But from the stories we have of him, he's not some alcoholic. He's a decent businessman.
That sounds like an oxymoron. It could be.
Well, back then it was a lot different. The world was a lot different place.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of that with possible hoaxes. So here's some odd things. Let's say the 2 cops. So we're going to go with the 1972 stories. 1972's. The two cops. If they're a week apart, and we're in March, with ice-covered roads, and this is a reptile, especially a large lizard, an iguana, there is 100% no way that reptile would have survived that long.
Right.
And even if it did survive, it could not have been moving.
Right, yep.
Being cold-blooded, especially a tropical cold-blooded animal. We do have lizards in Ohio. There are species. They're all small. Even there's a few northerner, like not in this country, but in other countries, larger northern lizards, but not very many. It's just very hard for a lizard or a snake to get large in the north.
Okay.
But we have snakes, we have lizards, we have... so that was my biggest thing, is that now Matthews is saying this is just a big lizard.
Yeah.
And it's in March on ice-covered roads.
Yeah.
And it's been a week.
That don't sound... And it leapt at him?
Yeah. It has energy.
Yeah.
Now, what a lot of our listeners may not know is a lot of amphibians function extremely well in the cold. So, I actually...
Like a frog.
Yeah, I have newts and salamanders, and they function at 40 degrees. They function at 30 degrees perfectly fine. They still hunt. They still move around. Most of the time, that's when they're breeding. So, they're very active. Amphibians, generally, besides some tropical amphibians, but amphibians generally do a lot better in cool weather, which is weird to think about. They're cold-blooded too, but they're geared more towards that cold weather environment.
Oh, that's kind of cool how they can do that.
All right. So that is the storyline. It only took us about 26 minutes. There's not a lot. There's not a lot of meat to the story.
Right, yeah.
But it's
It's interesting.
I learned a lot more than I thought I was going to learn.
Yeah.
All right, Jay.
That's what it's all about.
What's your thoughts? You go first.
So, I don't want to just say, oh, I believe him, I believe this. But, I was thinking, like, in my mind, what if it is, I've heard of the reptilians and stuff before. If it's an intelligent creature, I mean, it kind of fits that description. It's amphibian, reptile, probably more amphibian since it's functioning in the cold. But if they're intelligent, they're using quote-unquote magic, however you want to describe it. I feel like that first story from the 50s is kind of the most legitimate as compared to the guy changing the story. I mean, I'm sure he saw something, but didn't want to, actually tell you exactly what he saw after the fact, maybe, just because changing the story does almost seem like there's something there, whatever the reason is for him changing it or not. Hard to say. I kind of maybe think is what you said earlier. He just didn't want to be associated with it as much anymore. Like, screw this, leave me alone now. Like, it was just a lizard. Kind of that sort of feeling. But in my head, I was thinking, I gotta look this up because I can't remember where it was. You ever seen like those, and they talked about in that Ancient Alien show before, but I don't believe it 100%, but they found like these little statues of like these little reptilian figures. Have you ever seen those?
I think I have, yeah.
And it kind of fits those descriptions. It's kind of got the big inset eyes, the big long slit for the mouth, maybe small teeth, who knows, but you don't know how big those creatures were from the statue size. Those are only like not even a foot tall, I think, I can imagine. But what if there's some population that's in that area? Maybe they travel by river, or what if there's is there cave systems down in that area of Ohio?
Yeah, all Ohio has cave systems in it. And our part of Ohio has the least. The glaciers, the glaciers crushed all the entries.
Gotcha.
Not that they're not here. We just can't. We don't have any access to them.
Okay. So I'm wondering if there's maybe a cave system down there that they're kind of going in and out of, if they're real. Which I'm a believer. Believe everything's real if you can believe in it. But that's kind of what I'm thinking. Could be a reptilian, amphibians, humanoid type, intelligent creature that's traveling by water or by living in caves and stuff like that, and just came out to the surface to do some sort of magic, voodoo, whatever they need to do, and someone witnessed it.
So, I kind of forgot about the cave system thing for this story. I do like that. So my opinion on this Originally, it was very known.
Yeah.
I was 100% sure this was just some iguana, some Hicks seen and shot and killed, and that was it.
Yeah.
Before researching it, nobody I'd ever watched the story or heard the story from ever talked about it being in March on ice-covered roads and this thing being out there for a week.
Yeah.
So when we talk about the 3 stories that we went over, the first one to me is extremely... I think he's seen something he didn't understand, and I think he really bumped it up when he got to the police station. Because I think after he got there and he's like, I seen the big frogs.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, they had wizard wands. Like,
yeah, you don't believe me?
Yeah, I think that's where that part of it comes in. I think that's a lot more fantastical, and I think he did see something.
Yeah.
To me, though, I have the exact opposite feeling. I think the later stories are where the more believable ones. Because you have 2 separate officers saying the same thing a week apart, and one actually killing the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked up, I could not find what they did with the body.
Right, yeah, I'd like to know that part of the story.
I'm assuming they just threw it away. Because people, and if it was a big lizard, I feel like there would have been a picture in a paper.
Right.
Like, Officer shoots big lizard.
Maybe the Smithsonian swooped in and...
Yeah, they steal everything.
Yes.
My opinion has really changed. Do I think it was an iguana? No, I don't. I don't think it was a big iguana. Do I think there may have been an actual cryptid there? I think I think there's enough there to say that there is a possible real cryptid. I do not think it's a local, whatever the thing is. I think it's a lot lower in the Ohio River watershed.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, they get up there. I should have looked it up. There may be a dam system above Loveland, is why they keep stopping there. It may be as far as they go, or they have to get out and walk around.
Yeah.
If you're semi-aquatic, We have that with eels. When I did eel surveys for a living, eel actually get out of the water and go around the dam. They'll wait for a rainy night or something, and they'll crawl around. But so there's some kind of case with this. They're trying to get somewhere more private, remote, and they just get stopped. I don't know that for a fact. I should have looked into that. I just kind of have that thought right now. I'm going to say, so when we do these stories, we'll kind of go one of 3 ways. Real, fake, or plausible.
Yeah, or ancient alien.
Or ancient alien.
No, I'm kidding.
I'm going to go plausible cryptid.
Yeah.
I like the Mythbusters ranking system.
Yeah, that's pretty good, yeah.
I'm gonna go plausible. I'll even go plausible cryptid.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why there's a lack of continuous stories over the years. Is because it's not native to there.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's a really rare occurrence for the species.
Right.
I'm gonna assume there are a lot more in Kentucky, Tennessee, lower Indiana, lower Ohio,
hidden in the rivers and hills there.
And they may be, really aquatic.
Yeah.
The coming out may just be to get around the dam system.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of frog species that never leave the water.
Yeah.
They can walk on land. I have newt and salamander species that never leave the water. They can walk on land. They can function on land.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to.
Right.
But to get out and go around an obstacle, that may be why we're seeing them on the road. Because they have to crawl up and get there. Or maybe a food. They may be the most options for foods. Let's say they're eating cats.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to go plausible.
Plausible
cryptid. Any other thoughts on the Frogman?
Well, I don't know about other thoughts. I guess I like the idea of it being I think plausible too. I think I'm going to side with you on that.
I didn't even think about the cave system thing. I'm a big, you look at Dover Demons, White Walkers,
mm-hmm.
Crawlers, and that kind of stuff. They really overlay with cave systems.
Yeah.
I even think some Sasquatch stuff overlays with cave systems. You have the goblins, the Hopkinsville goblins, and that kind of stuff. That's all caves. Who's to say there's not, cave systems there? As far as my knowledge, there are caves there,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think they connect to the Mammoth Cave system. And that's where a lot of the big cryptids, because that's the biggest cave system. I think it's either the second biggest in the world or the biggest in the world.
Man, right in our backyard, too.
Yeah. And it probably goes under us.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
We know it goes all the way up to New York, all the way down to South Carolina, and all the way over to, I think, Illinois.
How do those caves, and they're all interconnected somewhere or somehow?
Yeah, it's one big cave system.
So how does that not collapse? Like with tectonic plates and things like that?
Oh, it has.
Okay.
There's been big sections completely closed off from each other.
Interesting.
It happens all the time. It used to be a lot bigger than it is now. Don't get me wrong. It's not small by anybody's standards of a cave system.
Right, yeah.
But there are whole sections
Just
that are just completely gone, or have such big chunks of debris.
And how much of that has been like explored and like surveyed and stuff for
A good bit. Not obviously not all of it.
Right.
I'd have to look that up, but I know it has a really good chunk of stuff because you can get into the Mammoth Cave system all over the country, or all over this part of the country.
Yeah.
There's entries. I mean, the big one's Kentucky, the Mammoth Cave.
Mm-hmm.
I think they call it the Cathedral. Is one of the biggest. I can't think of what the word is. Basically, like hall.
Yeah, I understand.
In a cave.
Yeah.
I think that's in Mammoth Caves, Kentucky. Even though it's the Mammoth Cave systems all over. It's
right. Yeah.
I mean, Ellie were talking about going down there. We have friends down there right now. Really cool waterfalls inside and stuff.
Oh, that's sweet. That would be fun.
Caves have their own crazy
like ecosystem.
Yeah. Like the Russian dragons. They're okay. I just forgot the word. They're a salamander.
Oh, okay.
Ohms. They're called ohms. They eat maybe twice a year.
Mm-hmm.
We have one female that we've been observing. I think she just laid eggs like 20 years ago. Now this is off the top of my head, so nobody get mad at me. These numbers are wrong. But we've been observing her. We've never seen her breed, and we've been observing her for like 50 to 70 years or something like that. And she just laid eggs, and they haven't. They develop so slowly.
Yeah.
And that's the whole cave system. As far as we know, they live to be maybe 300 years old.
Wow.
And they may be reproduced once in their life. They're very long. You've seen axolotls. They're very long, thin axolotl-looking animals.
Okay.
They look like a Wendigo axolotl. So when Russians used to call them, they thought they were baby dragons.
Yeah.
A lot of Russian culture. When they go down in caves and stuff, they'd see them, they wouldn't touch them, they wouldn't mess with them, because they were 100% sure these, I think they get like 3 foot long.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, that's a baby dragon.
Yeah, don't touch that.
Yeah, don't mess with that thing.
Yeah, the mom will come flying in.
That's the worst thing. That's the worst thing to kick right there.
Yeah, I'll barbecue you.
So I'm really leaning towards just cryptid. Whether I don't think it's an Ohio resident, and if it is, it's really southern Ohio, just the edge. That sounds like a more southern thing. Maybe they're just all over the Ohio River.
Yeah.
And we just haven't caught one in the net yet.
Right, yeah. But if it's intelligent, it's not going to get caught in a net.
And I'm not sure about the intelligence thing. I'm going to say it's a lot more intelligent than a frog.
Right, I guess that's what I mean, yeah.
But
not like
I'm going to go with, cat.
That level of intelligence?
Yeah. It can figure some stuff out.
Yeah, it's not dumb. It can navigate its way, but
you could kill it with a billy club.
Right, yeah. Or a few shots of the handgun.
Yeah. I mean, anything with the 45... Most things aren't getting back up, and if they do, you aren't winning anyways.
Yeah.
So, that's our story of the Loveland Frogman. Again, in the research, if I didn't get the story right, I apologize. If I didn't get the story right to the story you've heard, I can't do anything about that. There's a lot of variations.
Yeah, and if you got a story or a version, let us know. Yeah.
And then that's, so we're getting towards the end. We're going to go over some more cleaning house stuff. Please, if you have stories you'd like to tell us, I'm going to have the email and everything. I'm going to have the Facebook. If you feel comfortable, come over to the Facebook and share it. If you don't, email us directly. We're going to try. I'm still working it out. This is all new to us. I would really like to set up maybe an interview or two later on. December we may do 2 podcasts. We may do another one this month. We will do another one this month.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We should.
How many more weeks do we have? Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, how unprofessional.
It very is. But yeah. So please reach out to us. So once again, our active research areas: Hocking Hills, Ohio. We have people down there. We're ready to, if you find something fresh, let us know. We're ready to be down there. I'll be down there today. We have, especially if you have like a track of a Bigfoot or something like that.
Right.
And I've helped a couple people cast their tracks. Salt Fork. We're working on permission to have around 400 acres of private land to start squatching on. I'm 99% sure we have the permission now. I just talked to the guy again earlier last week.
Oh, good deal.
We just don't have access to it during deer season and the month before, I think is kind of what we're talking about. Because they're big deer hunters, They just don't want, the deer being disturbed. They're not worried about us messing with anything. They want the deer to have a normal pattern.
Right.
And then Manistee National Forest. That beast. That is real. I don't know if any of you guys have ever seen pine barrens, but that is just, it's hills, cliffs, small mountains, pine barrens, pine barrens, pine barrens. If something's 10 foot off the road, you ain't seeing it. It's a different world.
That'll be fun to navigate.
And it's weird because a lot of these fishermen, so a lot of the stories from Manistee come from fishermen, because the Manistee River salmon fishermen, and they'll pick a spot and they'll try to get in to weird areas that probably, hadn't been walked in 10 years, and to get to, special fishing spots. And that's where a lot of these people see stuff. So that's our research area. So if you have anything specifically from that area, please reach out to us. So we'd love to hear it. And if you'd like to even join us on some stuff, message us, get a hold of us. We're in your area. We're always looking for more help. It's easier.
More eyes on the ground.
Yeah, it's easier when we spread out and do stuff. We really do this like endangered species surveys. We're looking for, unique stuff, trying to throw out a lot of the stuff that can be accounted to other things.
Right.
Like, not every tree breaks a Bigfoot. Not every rock stack's a Bigfoot. There are people out in these woods.
Right.
People do that stuff all the time. All the time. So this is going to be a little bit of a shorter episode, looking at the time. But I would really, really like to thank everyone. I appreciate you guys listening to us, giving us a chance, sticking with us. We're learning. I think we're getting better. This sounded a lot smoother than the first one.
Yeah.
I just stared into Jay's eyes the whole time. I look at the mic a little bit too. I get this big, awkward looking mic. I'm going to put googly eyes on it.
Oh, it's a good idea.
But yeah, we'll get better with the editing, talking, that kind of stuff. I just really want to thank everybody for sticking with us through it.
Oh, yeah.
And I am amazed at how many listeners we already have.
Me too.
So, what was the numbers? I was saying we have 20 listens on last episode, I think it is.
Yeah.
20 listens and I think 14 listens, yeah. Because
Okay.
34 total. We've had 34 total listens.
Okay, total, yeah. Okay.
And I think 22 individual listeners.
Yeah, all right.
So,
and like 15 subscribers.
Yeah, something like that. So we really, really appreciate you guys. Then one more time, I want to talk about the giveaway. I'm buying something nice for you guys. So I'll put it on the Facebook link, that's where it's going to be through. So you'll have to get us on Facebook. I don't know how to do it through a podcast of how to get a hold of you yet. I'm learning. I'm working on getting this on Stitcher and Apple Podcasts. Stitcher's been a little bit of a pain. It's not their fault. It's probably mine. Because I've talked to customer service a couple times. They're nice people. I'm dumb. I'm not technologically friendly.
Same.
And they're walking me through it. And so I think we'll have episodes up there this week. I thought we had episodes up there already, but they're not posted yet. But I can see them in between.
Right.
So There's something.
Something's
they're
happening.
working their way down that pipe. Not as smoothly as I was told it would be, but we're getting there. So I'll have some rules in the giveaway. I don't know what it'll be. It'll be your comment, probably like, share, subscribe kind of deal. I don't know.
Figure something out.
Yeah. I'm really gonna try to get a Bigfoot cast to give away. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
Or something along those lines. It's not gonna be a sticker, I promise. Or a T-shirt because I don't know your size.
Right.
I mean, I'm a 2X.
Maybe a cool hat.
A real cool hat. A Squatch hat.
Yeah.
Anything else, Jay, before we go?
This is I have the same feelings. Like this is fun. I'm shocked by people listening up to this point so far. Like as much that just starting. We are new at this. We are learning. We're getting our feet wet. But it's fun. It's gonna be a fun journey. Every long journey begins with a single step. So we're taking those steps still. And yeah, this is fun. This is fun, and we do encourage and invite you guys to share whatever story or thoughts you might have. We're open for all discussion. This is all about opening our minds to discussion and just being able to talk freely about anything you want without feeling judgment from society or the outside world trying to put any negativity on you. Like, this is fun. This is fun. So please get involved if you want to get involved. We're here to listen.
All right, guys. We thank you, and we'll see you next Thursday.